Welcome everybody in. It is June 25th, 2023, episode 14. I want to say hello to all my mods, hello to all my subscribers, and hello to all my channel members. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here for the support. I did an extensive presentation today. I hope this can be pulled off the way that I'm going to present it this evening, but it's going to be a little bit long. It's going to be a lot of dates, a lot of times. And hopefully you guys can all follow along because I think it's a great presentation. I was showing it to someone earlier today and they said, it looks good. Cross your fingers, go with it. So I'm not going to waste too much more time here, but we're going to get into this. Let me just get situated up here and I will bring up my presentation. So as we know, there has been a lot of movement in the Bryan Kohberger case, probably in the last week, really in the last 48 hours. We have everybody that's come out now with a couple of new documents have come out, and everybody all of a sudden is a lawyer. Everybody's a DNA expert. Everybody basically is writing this guy off to walk. In my opinion, I think there's still a lot of complexity in this case. I think there's still a lot of things that are discovered. I think there's still a lot of evidence to be presented, and we're going to try to get through that tonight. So bear with me. Like I said, there's a lot of dates and times to go through, but we'll get through it. So defense says lack of DNA evidence, and this is in their most recent document here, and we'll start getting into you. Defense states lack of DNA evidence in new court document. So this is probably one of the last paragraphs in the defense's response to the state, and you're going to hear a little bit more about that as we go along, but just underlying the lack of DNA evidence, and in essence through the lack of disclosure and their motion to protect the genetic genealogy investigation, the state is hiding its entire case. This is all a facade. This is all made up. That's basically what the defense is saying right now. Let's find out what they're actually doing, in my opinion. So first, before we get into it, it's just kind of like, I saw this, reading through the documents, not so fast. Maybe, really, it could be a possibility. And remember that guy not too long ago with the long beard? Every time I see this photo, I always want to go back and maybe grow the beard back, but we'll see. So first of all, before we get into the presentation, I want to say I am not a lawyer, not an expert, and all of my opinions are based purely on research and speculation. And as you know here, we stick to the legal documents. All right. Still have everybody's attention? Moving along. All right. So what I'm going to do here is take you through a couple of things. And with the recent response to the state, in my opinion, the defense claims that Bryan Kohberger's DNA on the sheath is basically a nothing burger. And we hear that term a lot now, a lot in this case when evidence is presented. Everybody seems to be an expert. A lot of fringe channels pop up and debate all this stuff, I think, before even really looking into it. And, drumming up a lot of bullshit. There's been a lot of bullshit in this case lately, and a lot of bullshit that people are saying. And, before I go on, I want to shout someone out. It's not a channel that I watch a lot. I have heard something that was presented on their channel the other day, but big shout out to T-Rev. Big shout out to T-Rev for calling bullshit what's bullshit. And I'm glad that he came out and did that stream against, all these people that are popping up with all this bullshit and interjecting, a lot of shit into this case and skewing, public perception of what's really going on, skewing people away from, the facts that are, coming out in this case. And look, I understand that there's Team Kohberger and there's team people that, think that they have the right guy. But big shout out, like I said, to T-Rev and calling out bullshit. I'm not going to get into it on this podcast, but you guys can go over and check out what he did the other day on his channel. But like I said, big shout out to T-Rev. So we're going to talk about, is there possible damage control going on by the defense? And I'm going to show you how I came to this conclusion or conclusions in this presentation. Okay, so we're moving along here, and I'm going to take you through a basic timeline and then kind of spread this out into, more of a visual presentation so you can get a good idea of what's going on here. So we're going to look at January 2023. We have to remember that the gag order is in place, and it's been in place all the way up until some loosening of it, and you'll see it at the bottom of this document on 6/23/23. So January 2023, the gag order is put into place. And I apologize if I don't get to the chat tonight. I just kind of want to get through this presentation. If I happen to look up and see something, I'll highlight it, but I'm really just going to get through this. Moderators, I'm really going to need you tonight because this is a long presentation and I don't want to stop, and I'm not ignoring the chat, but I want to get through this because it is quite long. So on 6/16/23, the prosecution files state's motion for protective order. And basically what that breaks down to is discovery of the DNA evidence. That is the document that came out that everybody read and basically pointed Bryan Kohberger was a statistical match to that DNA on the knife sheath. Okay. So on 6/22/23, the defense now files a motion of declaration of Becca Barlow. And who is that? Well, she is a DNA expert, and she's going to support the defense on a motion to compel discovery that's going to be coming up on 6/27. Now, I don't know if she's going to completely be through the defense's team out through this trial, or it's just specifically being brought. She's being brought in to be heard in this motion. So on the 6/22/23, I find this very interesting as well, too. After this DNA expert was hired, the state now puts out a response. The defense now puts out a response to the state's discovery of DNA evidence and basically rejects the DNA findings by the state. On 6/23, the defense files the motion to compel discovery, and that's the motion that will happen on 6/27. And also that happened on that day, the gag order was loosened. So let's move forward here. So let's keep in mind, January 2023, cases under the gag order. So we have to keep that in mind. The gag order is still in place. It's been in place. I don't know the exact date that it was put on there. I was talking to one of my moderators about it. We couldn't come with the exact date, so I just said it happened in January. We're about 95% sure of that. And we're going to timeline this for you, and that was my basic timeline, but we're going to put some documents in, give you a visual presentation like I always do. Now, you're going to notice a P off to the left side of the screen. When you see P's in green, that's going to be the prosecution talking, okay? And then when you see a D that's in blue, that's going to be the defense. So they're talking or responding. So we have the timeline. 6/16/23, the prosecution files state's motion for protective order. That is the discovery of DNA evidence. All right. And basically, when you read through all of that document, that 33-page document, it comes up at the end and basically says the comparison shown a statistical match specifically to the STR profile is at least 5.37 octillion times more likely to be seen if the defendant is the source than if an unrelated individual randomly selected from the general population is the source. Essentially, what they're saying is that DNA on that knife sheath that was found next to Madison and Kaylee was Bryan Kohberger's DNA. Statistically matches up with that. And that's a big number, 5.37 octillion times. And that's by the prosecution. So you're probably going to ask me, what is 1 octillion? What is an octillion? Okay. An octillion is a fucking huge number. It's got 27 zeros after it. This is 5 times over. The statistical match in this is 5 times what 1 octillion is. It's essentially the state is saying this is Bryan Kohberger's DNA. And you can look up some fun facts here. An octillion gallons of water is a sphere, would be 190,000 kilometers wide. That's somewhere between the size of Jupiter and the sun. So that spread between the Jupiter and the sun is an octillion. It's pretty crazy. It's big. Okay. Everybody's still following me. I hope so. Give me a thumbs up there if you guys are all following me. Guys and ladies always say, titanium built in the house. How are you? I'm going to reach out to her soon. I've been so busy. I did this huge presentation today, but I'm going to reach out to you soon, and we're going to do a show together. All right. So 1 octillion. Give me a thumbs up. Everybody's with me. Fantastic. Everybody loving the presentation so far. I hope so. Okay. So now we're going to timeline this again. The D is in the corner. The D is the defense. On 6/22/23, the defense files notion of filing declaration for Bicker-Barlow in support of the defense third motion to compel. And that compel is for discovery. Okay. Just to give you a little bit of background here, Bryan Kohberger's defense team has hired Bicker-Barlow as a DNA forensic legal expert. The price tag will be upwards to $650 per hour, but her credentials are impressive. See below. And I forgot to note that Jennifer Coffindaffer actually was tweeting about this. BK's team is certainly loaded with the best experts money can buy. I'm still amazed BK's team was afforded taxpayer dollars to hire not one, but 2 media experts just to weigh in on whether cameras should be allowed in the courtroom or whether the gag order would stay in place. It would seem their experts had little sway on Judge. And we're going to get to the gag order a little later in this presentation. Let me get a sip of water here. Excuse me. I love this. Real quick, PK says, I got tired of all the conspiracy, the victim blaming, cop bashing channels. Sticking with this one, lawyer, T-Rev, Titanium, and Watts. PKC, I absolutely agree. And thank you for coming over and hanging out. I hope you find some real knowledge in this presentation this evening. Okay. So we have the credentials of Bicker-Barlow, University of San Francisco School of Law, 1992 to 1995. We have Cornell University, a master's in science, genetics, and development, 1985 to 1990, in the University of California, Berkeley, Science of Genetics, 1982 to 84. A huge pedigree. I had dates and times here, but I'm not going to really, I just don't think it's really relevant to what I'm trying to do here this evening. I don't want to confuse you all too much, but hopefully you're kind of following me along. All right. So I'm going to move on through the timeline. So what is the motion to compel to discovery? The first filing on that is, it's basically an evidence hearing. They're basically asking, for the state to turn over any filings, book work, notes, video footage, lab tests, DNA evidence, all those things that would circumvent evidence in this case. Anything that's pertinent to this case, they want to see it. That's a compelled to discovery. Okay. So the first one was filed on 5/4/23. So then you had the state's response. They come back on 5/12/23. And I know we've kind of gone back in history a little bit more than the present days. So what did they do? So the state comes out and they say, well, we've given approximately 10,000 pages, reports, and other written materials, approximately 10,200 photographs, approximately 9,200 tips. And the big one, what everybody has heard about, is approximately 51 terabytes of audio, video, media footage, and digital materials, and so on. And there's a list of so many other things, numerous lab reports. The state has disclosed all items aware of relating to the search and arrest of Bryan Kohberger in Pennsylvania. So they handed over all those files. We keep moving on. More ISP lab reports. You have reports and memos, just a litany of evidence in this. And the last paragraph says on here, as the state has indicated in its response to prior discovery requests from the defense, the state has and will continue to provide discovery in accordance with IRC 16 and the applicable law. And I know we've heard a lot about ICR 16 lately. That's been in a lot of these legal documents that have come forward. And basically, what that is the discovery. It's essentially evidence. Anything that's to do with this case is basically with IRC 16. You can look it up. I keep saying ICR 16 Idaho. You can look that up. Laura and I actually did a presentation on that a long time ago when all these new documents drops, and you can go back and actually watch that. I don't know the title of it, but I remember we were explaining what all that meant. My brain is so fried today from going through this, so to get all back into that, I just don't think it's going to be helpful in what I'm trying to show here. So we will move along. That was the prosecution or the state. So now in our timeline, you look at the defense. The defense comes back and files an objection to the state motion for protective order. That's basically they're rejecting the state's DNA evidence. They're saying, listen, what you found, the way you found it, how you found it has nothing to do with my client. Has nothing to do with him, does not implicate him, does not put him there. It's not found, there's no DNA evidence found in his car, his home, his office, whatever you're saying, it's not there. Essentially what they're saying in this document. The defense now files another on the same day, a motion to compel hearing, and that is an evidence hearing once again. And I find that interesting. I find it very interesting because if we go back and look, and I'm going to bring this back, what did they do? Let me see if I got my timeline right. I think that was the 23rd. Yeah. So what did they do a day before that? They hired a DNA expert. And now they want to have another hearing about discovery. And I'm going to get to my general overall point soon. Trust me. This hearing will happen on 6/27. So if you look here, it says down there below where my pointer is 6/27/23 at 1:30. It's the third motion to compel. So they're asking for more evidence. But I find it interesting. They have now hired a DNA expert. Oh, and on the same day, Judge loosens the gag order in the Idaho murder case against Bryan Kohberger. That's on the same day. So now the gag order is loosened. So you're going to be able to hear a little bit more about what's going on in the media. Judge basically says on 6/23, the gag order is loosened. That was at 2:00 p.m. And Judge says, given the high profile nature of this case, the public's interest in watching what is happening in the courtroom and Mr. Kohberger's fundamental right to a fair trial by an impartial jury, the court will reserve ruling on the issue of cameras in the courtroom. The court has faced with a difficult task of ensuring the proceedings are open to the public while safeguarding Kohberger's right to a fair trial. I agree. I have to agree with that. We want to have a fair trial, but we want to have an open trial. We want to be able to hear what's going on. We want to be able to make sure that everything in that courtroom is to the law, it is legal, it is presented correctly, that Bryan Kohberger gets a fair trial, and that these victims get represented properly as well. There can be no more smoke. There can be no more mirrors. There can be no more bullshit. We want the truth. If Bryan Kohberger right now is innocent until proven guilty, and if he is not guilty of this crime, then we got a lot of work to do in this investigation to figure out who did this. Okay. The best way to continue the balance of those interests is to revisit the issues of the camera in the courtroom as the case unfolds. This case has discretion to either allow or disallow video recordings and proceedings. For now, cameras in the courtroom will continue to be allowed. However, it is subject to change by further order of the court. That was signed by John C. Judge. I love that name. And it's dated the 23rd of June. Excuse me 1 second. I'm going to get a quick sip of water. Is everybody still following me? Give me a thumbs up in the chat. Everybody's still following me. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all. Okay. Give me a thumbs up. Let me see. So now I have the question. If the defense isn't so worried about the DNA evidence and they say this is all fabricated evidence by the state to take down their client, essentially a nothing burger, why would they bring on an expert in DNA analysis on their team, especially before this hearing, this discovery hearing? If it's a nothing burger, and they're not worried about this, then why would they bring in a DNA expert to help them? Think about that. And I'm going to acknowledge this $5 super chat. Iron Range Rube, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I appreciate you so much. And I'm not sure if my sounds are working tonight. I haven't listened in a while. I don't think they are. Yeah, it's not hooked up. Oh, there it is. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with that. Think about that. We're going to go forward here. It still doesn't explain how Bryan Kohberger's DNA ended up on the knife sheath next to two dead bodies. It still doesn't explain that. Okay. So what I want to look at now is the legal battle between the two documents. So the prosecution filed basically their evidence of DNA on 6/16/23. And then the defense came back where they're basically objecting to what the state says. They reject the DNA findings by the state. And I want to compare, because this is very interesting when you line this up and you look at the language that everybody's using. Okay. So remember my the PPP, that's the prosecution or the state. Okay. So we'll read through this really quick. So they're on the 16th, they release their document. Says on November 13, 2022, the law enforcement found the bodies of Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xander Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin at 112 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. All four victims died from apparent knife wounds. Law enforcement found a K-bar knife sheath on a bed next to the bodies of Madison and Kaylee. The sheath was face down and partially under Madison's body and the comforter on the bed. Law enforcement seized the K-bar knife sheath pursuant to a search warrant. The Idaho State Police Lab in Meridian, Idaho, located DNA on the K-bar knife sheath. The ISP laboratory determined the DNA came from a single source and that the source was male. Now the defense comes back, and this is their response to the state on the 22nd. This is interesting. On November 13, 2022, law enforcement responding to a 911 call found Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xander Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin deceased. Law enforcement later found a K-bar knife sheath placed next to Miss Mogen on her bed. Remember placed, because I'm going to go back to that. The sheath was placed button side down, partially under Miss Mogen and a comforter. On November 20th, 2022, the Idaho State Police Lab in Meridian, Idaho, located DNA on the button of a sheath and performed STR analysis that led to nowhere when ran through CODIS. Okay, let's go back to placed. Now, this is my opinion. I'm only speculating. What I get from the word placed is that they're saying, again, this is allegedly, this is my opinion. What does placed mean? Well, that would mean that someone put it there. And if you look at when they ran the DNA through CODIS, it didn't come up with anybody. And we know what STR DNA, when you run it through CODIS, what are they trying to do? They're trying to see if that DNA has ever been come up in any other crimes. So of course, we found out in the state's document that when they ran it, we found out that Bryan Kohberger's DNA never popped up in any other crime. So if he committed this crime, it would be his first crime that he either committed or was involved with. Everybody's still with me? Yes. Some are saying playing chess. Yes. You're understanding my presentation. You're understanding my presentation. Okay. Well, of course he wasn't in CODIS, right? He wasn't in CODIS, so his DNA would not hit, and he's never committed another crime. As now we found out, that's why he wasn't in CODIS. All right, let's keep moving on. So now we have the prosecution. Basically, they're just going back and saying what the defense said, that there was no match found through CODIS. Okay, so we've made that clear, and the state or prosecution acknowledges that as well. Now we go back to the defense. By December 17, 2022, lab analysis were aware of 2 additional male DNA within the house where the deceased were located, and another unknown male DNA on a glove found outside their residence on November 20th, 2022. To this date, the defense is unaware of what sort of testing, if any, was conducted on these samples other than STR DNA profiles. Further, these 3 separate and distinct male DNA profiles were not identified through CODIS. Okay, so those DNA, they weren't involved in a crime, leading to the conclusion that the profiles did not belong to Mr. Kohberger. Well, of course. And I look at this as well, too. December 17th and November 20th, let's see, where was I? 2 additional male DNA. Well, yeah, of course there would be probably other DNA. If I was to walk into my mother's house and sat down in the chair and I left, there would be DNA there. If she was to have a neighbor over and they sat down in her chair, there probably would be DNA there. There would be DNA there. Of course, this was a party house. People came and went through that entire house. So yeah, it would make sense that it would be other male DNA in that house. All right, let's keep moving on. So the prosecution now talks about, in this portion of their presentation or their legal document, about the IgG discovery, how it led, all the process that they did to get through the using the IgG to come to the determination that this was Bryan Kohberger's statistical match to the DNA. Yeah, I love this too. So now going back to defense says, well, while this was all going on, meaning how the prosecution was sorting through this DNA, coming to the determination of the statistical match, well, while this is all going on, police were investigating many various possible suspects. Many of them provided DNA. At least one had his DNA surreptitiously taken from a discarded cigarette. Many also had their phones taken and downloaded. Surreptitiously, if you don't know what it means, in a way that is an attempt to avoid notice or attention secretly. So prosecution comes back and says the STR profile is at least 5.73 octillion times more likely to be seen if defendant is the source than unrelated individual randomly selected from the general population is the source. The genealogy conducted by the FBI resulted in leading that point law enforcement to the defendant. So while the prosecution is explaining the DNA on that sheath is a high statistical match to Bryan Kohberger, placing him there near that knife sheath, near that bed where Madison and Kaylee are dead. The defense comes back and says one area of the investigation had to do with a white sedan seen on camera located at 112 King Road, first glimpsed by officers on November 18, 2022. By November 25th, 2022, police believed the car would be a white Elantra and asked law enforcement to be on the lookout for one. Precisely how the police came to believe the car was an Elantra is still unknown. A report from an analysis from the FBI dated March 21st, 2023 shows the analysis heavily relying on video of the car heading in the wrong direction and at the wrong time on Ridge Road. Prosecution in their presentation comes back and says the information provided to local law enforcement by the FBI was nothing more than a tip, a lead for local law enforcement to follow up on should they choose to. The defense argues tipped local law enforcement to investigate. All right, so here we go. The state's latest finding admits that somewhere within all of, I love this. The state's latest filings admits that somewhere within all of this, they engaged in IgG using the DNA taken from a button on a sheath, and now claims that it is due to the use of the technique that it tipped local law enforcement to investigate Mr. Kohberger. So my point here is, if they're saying, if the defense is basically saying that the state is claiming all this and they're not really worried about all this, then why did they hire a DNA expert? Why did they hire a DNA expert? It remains unclear what the police first filed in focusing on their investigation on Mr. Kohberger. And I love this too. No matter, I love this, no matter what came first, and automatically it popped right in my head. That's why I have my little chicken and my little egg. No matter what came first, the car or the genetic genealogy, the investigation provided precious little. No matter what came first, the chicken or the egg. There is no connection between Mr. Kohberger and the victims. There's no explanation for the total lack of evidence from the victims in Mr. Kohberger's apartment, office, home, or vehicle. Do we know that yet? Have we heard all of that yet? That's why I have that question mark. In essence, through the lack of disclosure and their motion to protect the genetic genealogy investigation, the state is hiding its entire case. Are they really? Because you're even saying it. You're saying the lack of disclosure. Is it that you haven't found the evidence? They've handed over a lot. Are you too lazy to go through it? Is that what it is? I want to thank Carrie H for gifting a membership. Thank you so much. And it looks like LJD3 has become a new member. And my sounds are not working tonight. It's okay. But dun, 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 it might play. I don't know. Something's going. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Carrie H. I appreciate you. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right. What I want to do now, and this is it is I love this. This is my favorite part of this presentation. I want to read this because basically what this is, and this is what I see. You have the state that came out on the 5th. I forget, it was the 15th or the 16th. Let me go back to my date so I get these correct. because I don't want to be, because I know someone will nail me down in the comments if I don't get my dates correct. All right. So you have the state that came out on the 16th and basically laid out how all this DNA evidence brought them to Bryan Kohberger. Okay. Then you have the defense's response on the 22nd, where they're just basically rejecting and saying this has nothing to do with it. They know, the defense knows that the public has access to these court documents. We can read them. And if you haven't read them, I'm going to drop. That is the link to the Kohberger files on the state of Idaho Judicial Branch website. It's idaho.gov. Just scroll down. You can read all of the documents there. They know, the defense knows that those documents are live. You can go and look at them. It's for public consumption. You can look at them. They know. So the prosecution comes out on the 16th. They say, look, here's all our DNA evidence. This is how we got it. This is what led us to Bryan Kohberger. That's pretty damning. The DNA on that knife sheath is a statistical match, 5.37 octillions, Bryan Kohberger. Then all of a sudden, the defense hires this DNA expert and then releases a statement basically poo-pooing all of this DNA evidence. It's basically, in my opinion, to clean up Bryan Kohberger's image in the media, on social media, across YouTube platforms. They know that you can go in and read this stuff, so why not fire back? To me, it's smoke and mirrors. It's smoke and mirrors, in my opinion. But let's look through this. I want to oh, I love this. This gets to be like some Alex Jones shit. All right, let's pull this up. Let me widen this. Okay, this is really good. This is really good. Okay. Let's see. Absolutely, Brian. Everybody's agreeing. Danielle's agreeing. Thank you so much. I knew I would get to my point. It was just going to take me a little while to get there, but I knew I would get to my point. I knew I would get to my point. Yeah, I mean, here you go. And found a way around the gag order. That's essentially what they're doing. If they get it into a legal document, they know everybody can read this stuff. If they can get out there, they can get their point out there and say, hey, look, read this. He's innocent. He wasn't there. This is all, I'm telling you, let's get through this. These 5 pages are, and all these fucking stupid channels that sit here and go, this guy's going to walk. It's going to this. It's going to that. Oh, they don't have anything. If you took the time and timeline this stuff and use the thing that's up here, the peanut that's put up here in our skull, you'd figure all this out and you wouldn't put all this misinformation out there. And listen, I'm not saying that I'm 100% right. I'm not even saying that I'm 50% right. But when I sit and think about it, I use logic. I don't just read through a document really quick, turn on my camera and go live with it and say, oh, yeah, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I don't do that. I try to formulate some really good ideas and evidence to support what I'm talking about. And again, I may be wrong. I'm not a fucking lawyer. I'm just some idiot that turns on my camera and does presentations. And you all hang out and watch. All right. Let's look at this argument because it's, and this is from the defense. I love this. Good stuff. I love good courtroom battles. I love this stuff. I eat it up. I eat this stuff up. Let me get a quick sip of water and then we'll start reading through this. So the argument here is the state apparently thinks that they need to explain how they came to think that this was Mr. Kohberger's DNA on the sheath. Presumably, the defense is expected to accept at face value that the sheath had touch DNA just waiting for testing by all the FBI resources. Additionally, the defense is to guess whether the state focused its investigation on Mr. Kohberger via a bizarrely complex DNA tree experiment or through its faulty identification of a vehicle involved in this case. I love this. This is like a movie. It's like a movie script. And I'm not saying that in a jokingly way. I know this is very sensitive, it's very serious stuff, but this is good stuff. Perhaps, unsurprisingly, Mr. Kohberger does not accept that his defense does not need this information. It rather obviously falls within the omit rule of 16b4 and 5, a fact that the state's briefing makes clear in its kitchen sink approach to their briefing. The state begins their argument claiming Rule 16 has no interest in IgG testing, and that it ends with their argument claiming that somehow people will stop sharing their genetics if they realize that the government is watching. The government is watching. Both arguments must fail. To begin with, the state apparently only wants to prevent Mr. Kohberger from seeing how the IgG profile was created and how many other people the FBI chose to ignore during their investigation. In essence, the state argues that if later the STR testing is accurate, then there is no reason to concern ourselves with how the state came to investigate Mr. Kohberger. State's brief at 9. What the state's argument asked this court and Mr. Kohberger to assume is that the DNA on the sheath was placed there by Mr. Kohberger and not someone else during the investigation that spans hundreds of members of law enforcement and apparently at least one lab the state refuses to name. Perhaps most puzzling is the state's argument with while Rule 16b5 requires them to turn over the results or reports from significant investigations, excuse me, and it does not require the state to disclose the law enforcement does with the results or reports. State's brief at 14. First of all, it sounds like an admission that the information as to how IgG was carried out should be disclosed. Second, what the law enforcement does not result or reports is recovered by Rule 16b6 statement, prosecuting witness, and 8 police reports. Let me just get to this super chat. Tsunami, one of my channel mods, says, Ryan, this super chat is to you to get a swear jar. Every time you drop bombs, put $1 in your jar. Think it is of a savings account. I'm fired up tonight, man. I'm fired up tonight. Thank you for the $5. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. That's great. Okay. Frankly, the fact that members of the FBI are so concerned about permitting Mr. Kohberger to know what they were up to with supposedly his DNA does not give one impression that there is nothing to see here, as the state seems to imply. Excuse me. Finally, the state claims that the IRC 16G2 applies to this matter is quite bizarre. Presumably, the independent company the government relied on was paid for its work and would stand by in a court. The state provides no real argument as to why the company needs to be protected. Mr. Kohberger is left to suspect they wish to keep their methods from being, and we have a new member here, Sunflower Soul 615 has become a new member. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. You can go over and look at all my, if you haven't, I've been doing members only content. I've been dropping a video once a week for all my members. You can go over and check out my members only section. You'll get, you'll get all access to that. So thank you so much and welcome aboard to the team. Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay. So, wish to keep their methods from being questioned. The extent that there is some concern about intellectual property that can be addressed via a protection order permits Mr. Kohberger and his defense team to review their work. Second, the state appears to argue that everyone living on Earth, I love this, the state appears to argue that everyone living on Earth provides genetic information is A, unaware that their DNA could be used by the government somewhere for something. Man, the government. Oh, the dark forces. The dark force, the government, man. AZ will know what I'm talking about. Yeah, man, the government.
Bing, bing, bong, bong,
It's the government. The state citation to ease involving actual informants hardly helped to keep incredible leap. No court. Big brother, man, here it is, man. I gotta cut that. The state citation to case involving actual informants hardly helped it keep this incredible leap. No court has ever found the existence of DNA informant. It would rather appear that the state is acknowledging that the companies are providing personal information to the state, and those companies and the government would suffer if the public were to realize it. The only two databases that will allow access are ones already informed their users, and the users could opt in to allow law enforcement searches. The state by the government implies that databases search may only be the ones law enforcement specifically barred from, which explains why they do not want to disclose their methods. In fact, the government is looking at the genetic information that people are sharing was at all an issue. And then the state, a very public acknowledgement of investigations is clearly a big mistake. In any case, it is hard to understand why Mr. Kohberger should be the one to suffer because of these companies in our government chose to either mislead or not educate the public. According to Pew Research Center in February 2020, 48% of respondents thought it was acceptable to give their data to law enforcement to solve crimes. 33% said no, and 18% were unsure. James Halpin, police use forensic genome. They're citing a book or an article. However, 60% thought there were genetic information could not be shared with other companies' ID. There is no federal law about sharing a genetic information, but don't these sites, when you sign up to these sites, so let's just say it's like 23andMe, don't they make you sign like 9 million times that your information could be used in a criminal investigation? I'm going to skip all this here and go down. Mr. Kohberger has reasons to be extremely suspicious of IgG used in this case, rather than seeing it as some sort of complex tree building that led to him. It appears far more like a lineup where the government, man, was already aware of who they wanted to target, rather than have an investigation done by someone blind to the fact the FBI chose to do it themselves. This is akin to the police pulling in Mr. Kohberger and 5 of his cousins off the street and then pointing at him. The only authority the state has in its favor is trial court order from a California case that settled before it could lead you anywhere. This decision relied on the People versus Johnson 139, sustaining the case here. The court in Johnson was not decided whether a defendant had a right to know how he was identified, only that his identification could come in trial without a mini trial about it. A better case in this issue is the state versus Ortega. And I'm not going to read through all that, but we'll just get to, if you want to go back and read that in the document. So it says here, Mr. Kohberger finds himself in a similar position as Mr. Ortega. A massive investigation came to focus on him and him alone. The state appears to be trying to hide its original demeanor, such as he cannot discover why. Mr. Kohberger has a right to discover and question the investigation led upon him. This court should so find. And that is it. That is the response from Ann Taylor, the public defender. And, when I look at all of this, the way that it's being presented, again, I think this is a way to, let me just bring this down. a way to get, find your way around the gag order, put it in a legal document, put it out there for the public to consume, put it out there for the media to consume, put it out there for social media to consume, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, Twitter, to get everybody to listen to Bryan Kohberger's defense team. It's smoke and mirrors. It still does not explain how Bryan Kohberger's DNA was found on a knife sheath next to two dead bodies, Kaylee and Madison, which I find it very strange that in the defense's document, they don't even list Kaylee. Why? Why are they not listing Kaylee? They're only listing Madison, which is very strange. So again, I think this is a state's response to get around that gag order, to kind of poo-poo what the defense, to poo-poo what the state has put out there. And it's a response. And again, like I said, we can go on and read these documents on the website, and I'll be interested to see what reports are going to say tomorrow, what kind of articles come out. I'll be interested to see what will be out there in the Twitter sphere, what will be out there. Well, I already know what's happening on YouTube. A lot of bullshit, a lot of misinformation. That shit needs to stop, by the way. If you come on and just say these completely unfactual things, and that you can go to bed at night and lay your head down after saying those things about the victims, the families, the investigation, you need to morally check yourself. And you need to stop with all this, all these fringe channels that pop up, these crazy people. I don't have to name the channels. You know who they all are. You guys all watch. You guys and ladies all watch. So, no, I didn't swear. I didn't swear. But hopefully this presentation tonight gave a little bit of clarity, just gave you kind of how I feel on this. Again, I'm not saying that I'm 100% right. This is my view. This is my platform. This is my channel. This is my opinion. If you don't like it, you can fuck off, because I'm not holding back anymore. I'm not holding back anymore. This is my channel. This is my channel. It's my platform. It's the way I feel. Let me recognize this $10 super chat. Iron Range Rube, $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Appreciate you so much.
Straight cash, homie.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Listen, people can come here. I know a lot of people don't agree with me. It's perfectly fine. But it's my channel. It's my platform. And people need to stop with this bullshit. Titanium says, I love it. Thank you so much. And listen, thank you so much for that $10 super chat. A lot of new faces in here, a lot of new subscribers. I appreciate it. Everybody's loving. I've been spicy lately. I definitely have been spicy lately. So again, I hope you found some, good context in all of this. I hope you can digest it. Listen, I know that 50% of you will agree with me, 50% won't, maybe 25% agree, 75% won't. But we're done. We're done with the bullshit. Definitely done with the bullshit. And I don't know. So think on that. Real quick show. I don't know. Maybe why don't we do this? I haven't done this in a while. You want me to take some calls? Will people call in? I haven't done that in a while. Or if you have any questions, why don't we do this? Before I go off air, if you have any questions, type below, put question like Q, and then just leave your question. We'll pull it up, and I'll try to intelligently answer it as best I can. Actually, you know what? If Titanium's in the chat, Titanium, if you why don't you jump on for a second? I'll drop the link if you want to come over and hang out for a second. I'd love to hear your opinion in all of this lately. I don't know if you're able to jump on. I don't know if your studio set up or whatever where you stream from, but if you want, I can drop the link really quick, get you on for a couple minutes and chat. If you want to do that, let me know. I'll hang out for a second. Or maybe I'll take some calls. I don't know. What can we do? Yeah, all right, cool. She's gonna jump on. Hang out for a second. Give me a second. I'm gonna just grab another thing of water, and then I'll drop the link for titanium. We'll get her on for a second, and we'll have a quick chat. So give me like 2 seconds. Let me see if she's back. If you're back, let me know. I'll drop the link, pull you in, and we can have a quick chat. I know her and I have been trying to get something together here. I thought this would be a great opportunity. Oh, by the way, I want to recognize this new member. John Williams become a new member. I'm sorry if I didn't pull that up. I appreciate you so much. Let me see. Is she available? I can come up whenever. Cool. Link is there. Pop in. We'll bring you on. Don't even anybody else try because you ain't going to get on my show. A new member. Yeah, new member. New member. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, there we go. I didn't show you my picture backstage. I meant to, but I meant to turn my camera on and I forgot to.
You're all good. So how are you?
I'm doing good. Is my microphone down too low or anything?
No, it sounds great.
Okay.
First of all, I want to welcome you to Let's Talk Live podcast. We've been kind of watching each other's channels lately, and I really enjoy, what you're doing over there. I first want to actually commend you as well too, because you were calling out a lot of the bullshit on your stream the other day, and I think that's really good. I don't know if you want to tell the audience a little bit about it, how you feel lately. I know how I feel, but I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And like you said, we've been watching each other's channels, and that's because we can go to each other's channels and we can get some factual information. And there's no like we could speculate a little here and there, you can, but then when you're throwing out just like you're just throwing shit to the wall, sorry, to just see what sticks.
Here.
It's what they're doing, and I'm actually on my live tonight. I forgot to do this part, but I was going to do suspects
Yeah.
and then write out all of the people that have been named in this case as a suspect. From Jeremy the neighbor to all the way to finally Enan Harsh, Jack, Jake, all of them. And so I was going to make a list because it's like, well, what happened to what's going on with Emma and Dimitri now? Or, are they
Right.
still in the game? It's just a lot of misinformation. I noticed on one person in particular, they put out a video and it said that there was 3 male DNA profiles found on the knife sheath. And I was like, what? So then I'm in Drunk Turkey's chat because I'm going over there to see what's going on because I was like, I want to see what their opinion was going to be on this whole situation. And I see in his chat, he has like 1.5K people watching, and a bunch of people in the chat are going, did you hear about the 3 DNA like on those sheath? And I'm like, that's not true. What? And I'm over here like going, and I couldn't subscribe fast enough to then wait the 5 minutes, and then I'm like, well, that's going to be over by the time I get in there to like say anything. But that person had retracted their video after she had put it out. She had read the documents wrong. But it's like, just take your time, read the documents, process them. Don't just think you see something and run with it. And that's what's been going on a lot. And it's really sad.
I think it's that too. And I think that it has a lot to do with that. And it's a lot of the, not processing. They think it's, and I hate to say this and don't take this the wrong way. It's like, ooh, it's sexy, a new document, like, and then they grab it and they read it and they just scan through it quick. Oh, look. Yep. Well, here it is. Exactly. I always say exactly like that stuff. And, like T-Rev, like I was saying the other night, saying tonight, actually, I give him a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit of what he called out the other night. Now, look, I'll go there. I don't care if you don't want to take part of this conversation. It's cool. I've had WSU Kim on my show, and if you actually go back and watch the segment when she called in, I literally sat there and didn't say anything. I just let her talk, and I have text messages from her, and I have text messages of stuff that she said that is completely false as well too. And just the thing that he was bringing up about and I don't want to get too graphic here, but like people's hearts being ripped out and their tongue,
Yes.
and like who
Yeah.
like
I did a
why
whole
would
live
you
on
say
that
that? Yeah, why
because
would you say that?
when it first came out, the first time he talked about it on his chat, on his live, I was in his live and I was listening and I was stunned at what he was saying that she said in this email. And
Right.
I was writing it all down.
Yeah.
And I was livid. I mean, like, because my heart goes out to these victims and these victims'
100%.
families. I mean, I've sat in this where I'm at right now on my desk and I've cried for these
Yep.
victims. And I've covered a lot of true crime cases on this platform, and that's something I've never really done, but that's something I do here. So I take things, more personally. And so when there's so much misinformation thrown out there, it gets you kind of upset about it.
I mean, I don't know if you know my story, but my best friend was murdered in 1994, and in his case, and it was a stabbing death, and in his case, he had no justice. The people that did it, they know that they did it.
Mm,
The prosecution fucked up royally, and these people essentially ended up walking. So I take this case very, very serious.
of
I'll be
course.
honest. I have cried.
Yeah.
I,
Oh
I
yeah.
I
It'll
had
make you cry.
I had a live on Friday. I got about 15 minutes into it. I had to shut it down. And I'm being very transparent with the audience right here right now. I
Hmm.
had to shut it down. I had to leave, and I literally had like a break. I
Yeah.
was broken, and I have excellent mods, and they're such my best friends,
Hmm. Oh
and they
yeah.
call me and they're like, "We're here for you," just talk. And I
Hmm.
just vented, and the biggest thing for me right now is two things in this case that just bother me. That just bother
Hmm.
me. And I need to know this. I need to know what is the connection of the suspect and the individuals in this home. What is that
Yeah.
connection? How did that start? And I
Hmm.
need to know what happened in that house that night.
Yeah.
And I know we're never going to get the complete details, because if Bryan Kohberger is the person that did this, he's the only one that knows.
Yep.
He's the only one that knows.
I
And
believe.
that
Yep.
every single day.
I believe that too. Yeah. And I believe it's him, and I don't believe he had help. I don't believe anybody else is involved. I mean, because if you think about it, I mean, because a lot of people are going that route. They're like, well, he might have been there, but he didn't do it, or or whatever. If there was another person, Brian's supposed to be this criminal mastermind from this criminology program. If he left his DNA there, then that other person would have left DNA all over that place for
That's the
sure. And if you're going to do a crime with someone, like if me and you, Brian, are going to go commit a heinous crime, right?
right,
We're going to have to be on each other's level. Like you're going to have to be on 10 with me. Like,
right.
if not, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing and I'm worried about you, that's when plans mess up.
Hmm.
It's just too hard to be connected to someone like that to where it's like they're thinking they're like ninja like or something. And I
Yeah.
don't think it was like this at all. I think it was exactly what it says in the PCA. He came in, he did what he did, and he left. And I'm sure it was planned, and I'm sure he had eyes on, maybe he did have eyes on the victims. He had to have had eyes on the victims prior to this. There has to be a connection. And I'm sure that they'll find the connection. I'm sure they know. They pulled social media, they've pulled bank records, they've pulled all that stuff. So,
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's and again, I want to stress this. Bryan Kohberger right now is innocent until proven guilty. I think that they have
oh
the
yeah.
right guy.
Hmm.
I strongly feel that, but we have to give him his due process,
Of
because I know
course.
everybody gets on me about that. You always talk like he's guilty. Well, that's my opinion.
Hmm.
I
And
read the doc.
but
Go
we
ahead.
do agree. But we do agree that he
Yeah,
deserves a fair trial. We both
100%.
think he's guilty. And personally, that's per our personal opinion.
Sure.
But we want him to get the best trial ever because we don't want him out on appeal. We don't want
No.
this overturned. We want him to have the best experts if he needs them. We don't want no Dorothy expert like in Letitia Stout trial. That woman couldn't. She was a horrible expert.
Hmm.
Well, maybe he does need a horrible expert, but we don't want another one of those where it was just we were not sure if they were even going to, if she was even going to be. Said she was guilty, but we didn't know what was going to happen in that case
Right.
because of the expert they hired in. Did you say this expert was how much an hour? 600?
650.
That's what I thought I read too, and I forgot about it until you said it again. Okay. Because their expert in the Letitia Stout trial was highly paid, we thought, and she was only paid $300 an hour.
$650.
And this and
That's a lot.
and yeah, and this woman Dorothy had dealt with Ted Bundy. Like he kissed her. That was his last kiss. He kissed her on the cheek, and she was talking about how much she just thought that was so great. Like this woman was insane. She was like 80. She was a defense. She was the defense's, expert. It was just bad. It was bad.
Let me
But
just
there
read.
is. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Let me just read this super chat really quick so I don't lose it here.
Oh
Tsunami
yeah.
says, Brian and Tanya, the match made in YouTube heaven. Brian, I'm watching. I'm watching. Starting writing those IOUs for you for that swear jar. Thank you
Oh,
so much. We appreciate it.
Free cash, homie.
I got a new channel member as well. Web Weaver has become a new
oh,
member,
that's Jan.
and they have.
That's my girl.
That's awesome. They have joined the Rookie Detective. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's cute. Rookie Detective. I was wondering what you called them over here because everyone calls like their subscribers or their channels stuff like different names, and I love it. I love your presentations too, by the way. Their visuals are great.
Do you know how long that took me to do today?
Probably a long time. Do you use Canva? Can I ask? Is it Canva? Oh,
Yeah.
then I know it took a while because I do them on my channel and it takes me forever in a day.
It took me like 8 hours today.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, it does, and that's another thing. I'm going to shout you out because it really does take a lot of time to do a YouTube channel. I mean, my subscribers on my channel, they know I'm there every night. You're here a lot, almost every night, it seems like. And for you to even do an hour live or a 2 hour live, for you to talk the whole time, it's a lot. I mean, try doing that. Remember in high school, they were like 10-minute presentation in front of this class, and you're like, ain't happening.
Forever.
Yeah, you're like, so I mean, but I think with this case, it's easy to talk about because, well, it's because of the victims and their families, and you want to be there for them and you want to help them. Their families are all different. The Chapins, they have their way about them. The Mogans have their ways. Xana's mom and dad, we hear a little bit from them, and then Kaylee's parents are full, force. And that's another thing. I'm just wondering. I don't know if you saw this or heard this on Drunk Turkey's live the other night, but I'll say his name because I'm upset with him about it. He was reading the documents about the DNA, the male DNA profiles, the 2 male DNA profiles, and it says something about found with the victims. It doesn't say which victim, or it says like around the victims or something along those lines. And he said, it was in Maddie Mogan's bed. The 2 DNA male profiles were in Maddie Mogan's bed, unidentified.
How do you know that?
There's no way to know that.
Right.
And to be a girl to say, and she had a boyfriend, long-term relationship, to say that there's multiple male unidentified in her bed, it just sounded bad to me. I just didn't like it. And so I was so mad. I was going to comment, and then I deleted my comment, and then I commented again. And then I was like, 'cause I don't want to start anything, but I'm like, you cannot just throw people's names out there because then that's how stuff gets started.
Yeah, there's been some channels that have done some stuff, and I just kind of refrain from talking about it. I mean, there's been some things that have really upset me. Just ways that the victim families have been handled. Just certain things that have just kind of bugged me. I don't really get into talking about people's channels unless I find it like I said, I'll shout out to you, Rev. Thank you again, buddy. You got a lot of balls to come across the platform and do that. I try to refrain from controversy. I don't want to talk about other people's channels. I just stay away from that stuff. But
I want to say that about T-Rev too. No, that was really that was brave of him in a way, because that could have went either way for him. Because the Kim deal, it's popular still. I don't know what it is. I don't get it. I have like from one of her first lives, like her first couple of lives, I have pages of notes of all of her lies. I was like, that's not right. That's not right. I'm going to go back through them and be like,
to me is that I just found it very interesting that if you want to go specifically to her, the thing that I found very interesting was it was like, if you knew something that would help this case, then why are you doing like a media tour on YouTube channels? Why are you not sitting and talking with detectives and I called the FBI. Well, anybody can call the fucking FBI.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I personally wouldn't call them. I wouldn't want to call them. stuff like that. So
And
it's just,
she kept saying that too. She's like, I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be doing this true crime stuff. This isn't what I want to be doing right now. And it's like, well, you shouldn't be. So, like, why are you here?
right. Let me just recognize this.
Oh,
Gail
yeah, of
just sent a
course.
$3 super sticker. Thank you so much, Gail. I appreciate you.
Straight cash, homie.
And Iron Range Rube has sent a $5 super chat as well. It says, it's touch DNA, Brian. How many things have you touched where it felt your profile being behind in the last 2 weeks? Wait, did I read that right? It's touch DNA, Brian. How many things that you've touched where I think it's supposed to say left your profile behind in its last 2 weeks? Yeah, absolutely.
But do we even know if it was Touch DNA?
Exactly.
Because I think that came from Howard Bloom.
Yeah, and I
And,
think,
and,
and
and
we,
he's
and
not
it,
checking out.
yeah, and my mods, we actually talked about that too. Like, do we actually know this is touch DNA? Was it mixed with any of the victim's blood? We
Yeah.
don't know.
Or something from him, bodily fluids, sweat, saliva, blood. I mean, anything.
Lisa says, it would be a great show for Brian, Tanya, T-Rev, Detective John, and all the same at the same time. Would be a great show as also. Yeah, maybe it's a
That would be,
possibility. Listen, Tanya and I are just really getting affiliated with each other
yeah.
this evening. So yeah, maybe that can be something we do down the road. But
I think Detective John is he's pretty funny. He went on a tangent. I don't know if you heard it the other day about a couple creators at the end of T-Rev's live. He was on there, and I was just like, oh, because I thought I was the only one seeing some of this stuff, but
Mhm.
I guess I'm not, and I was like,
we
okay,
my moderators and I have been seeing this for a long time. And the thing is that we, like I said, I've tried to stay out of all the politics of it because channels are just going to essentially eat each other alive.
mm-hmm,
And I don't like to put things out there and just fight it. I don't want to say it's like bad for business, but I just tend to stay away from it. It's just
yeah,
goofy stuff that people try to start fighting with other people to cause drama because the biggest thing in the world, drama sells.
mm-hmm,
So all that stuff. So again, I just try to stay away from it, stick to the facts in the case, keep a stream, a clean channel, talk about what's relevant. All that other shit is it's bullshit. It's all
yep,
bullshit.
it
It's
is,
people just creating things for clicks and views, and I have no interest in it.
yeah,
I always laugh too. I always get a lot of shit, and I don't know if you do in your comments about people will comment and say, "Oh, you are making so much money off the victims." And I'm like, "Do you know how much
yeah,
money I actually make on fucking YouTube?"
yeah, I
I
know,
dropped a video the other day. It probably made 50 cents.
yeah,
You
no,
know,
that's
after
yeah,
the sense that YouTube's going to take 30% of theirs, and guess
yeah.
what? You got to pay taxes on that.
Yep. Yeah, I was telling my people in my live because like sometimes my pre-recordeds will only take me 15 minutes to make and they'll do way better than my lives will and I'll be on a live for, 2, 3 hours or something. But I still do my lives because I love the people. That's why, I do it. But a lot of people assume because you're on YouTube that you make a lot of money. Like I think that people think that we make like roughly, I think they think that we make like at least $100 a live.
No.
When it's like $10 if you have some
Yeah.
super good I mean, if you get some super good views, maybe like if you're in the 20,000, maybe you'll get $50.
Right.
But you've sat there, and done way more than $50 worth of work to put into the live before the live even started. And then StreamYard and, I have like YouTube Premium and stuff, all that stuff
Yeah.
kind of
Oh yeah.
takes
This
away.
costs money to do. I mean,
Yeah.
what is it? My StreamYard is like 600 a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
essentially, I'm going to tell everybody right now, my channel essentially just runs itself. That's it. All the money that
Mine too.
has ever made from this basically just runs. I don't make any profit. I don't make any
Yeah.
profit.
That's
That's
how I
it.
am. Yeah. And I just do it because I love to do it.
It's not about fucking money to me. I don't care about money. I work a
I'm the
day
same
job.
way.
I don't care about money.
So, what do you
So,
do? Can I ask you what you do? Like, what you don't have to tell me exactly what you do, but what do you do for like your day
uh,
job?
um,
And
um, how can I word this? Uh, Jeez. I'm a director. Not a
okay,
movie director, but I'm a director.
a director of something. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. I
Yeah.
own a boutique, so that's
I
what I
work
do
a
when
lot.
I'm not. Yeah, I do too. I own a boutique, so if I'm not
Yeah.
doing YouTube, I'm doing that. But that's what
Right.
I love. I love both. So, and your chat's really awesome. It's like the same people that are in my chat.
we have really, really good people over here. And I'll be honest with you, when I started this, like when I started really falling into this case 5 months ago,
Hmm.
um, it there was a lot of bullshit in the chat at
Yeah.
first, and I think we narrowed out a lot of those people. So it's been a good channel. I have great mods, and they really keep up on this stuff to make sure we monitor the chat. Good.
Yeah,
So
Summer's in here. She's one of my mods, and she's my girl that
yeah,
I vent to. I vent to her all day, every day, and she vents to me. She'll be like, "Did you see this?" And I'll be like, "No, did you see this?" But it's
yeah,
good. You have to have that with your mods and or somebody, because if you talk to somebody outside of YouTube, they're not going to understand or know what's going on.
right.
It you need that person that's in YouTube on YouTube a lot to kind of and they see the bull crap that's floating around.
Yeah, I have 5 mods that we have a little Discord group, and we talk about the case. Basically every night we'll get into like just a open chat like this, kind of like what we're doing right here, and just chat for a couple hours each night. And if new documents come out, we talk about it. Uh, Laura, I don't know if you've seen her over here. She's been a huge supporter of me, and she goes back
Yeah.
like OG on the channel. She's done a bunch of lives with me. We've done a lot of presentating
Oh
together.
yeah.
Yeah, Agent Chase. We call her Agent Chase. But
Yeah.
yeah. So new black channel, the New Black Widow channel. Just gave me a $10 super chat. I appreciate you so
So
much. Thank you.
Great
nice.
chat, homie.
Oh, I like that picture.
Which one? My
Her
Misfits one?
picture, the
Oh,
Black Widow channel
oh yeah,
picture.
yeah, yeah. That's cool. So I don't know. Where looks like there's going to be another defense is asking for another meeting or a motion on the 27th. There'll be another hearing. That's again the compel for discovery. So they're looking
Hmm.
for more evidence. I'm sure that's going to, with their new the defense's new DNA expert. I'm sure they will be there, and they will fight tooth and nail to try to get this thrown out. It's going to be an interesting case. I don't think it's going to happen in October. I think we're going to see this case
Oh,
probably early 2024. What do you
me
think?
too. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. Maybe even spring 2024, with all the pushback continuances, because they're already wanting to stay. They're
Hmm.
they're asking for more evidence, and then they're like, well, but we need to stay, but we need more, but we want a speedy trial, but
Yeah,
we and price and time is precious, they said. And it's like, well,
right.
they gave you 51 terabytes. Did you go through that? And well, no, because you didn't show us what we needed to see. That's what
Mhm.
they're trying to do. They want them to point and give them the defense. To me, is it seems like they want the prosecution's case. They don't
Yep.
want just their evidence. They want the whole case. They want them to pick and choose and show them, like, this is what we did, this is how we got it. And they can give those the documents, but they don't, the family tree deal, they can give them names on a postage stamp for all I care. And they can go through and make their own family tree and figure out how it came about. I
Yeah.
feel like the prosecution doesn't need to do that that's the defense's job.
Yeah. What I saw in this LAF document by the defense, the filing there, how they're just kind of turned this all into a big nothing burger is, I look at the sense of, did they even go through the 51 terabyte or all this information? It's almost like they're being like, you know what? I don't want to go through all this stuff. Let's just
Yeah.
all this on the table and say, hey, uh, you figure it out, and all this is just a nothing burger, and how you got to this is a joke. Blah 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 blah. So it's interesting. It's very
It
interesting.
is.
Chosen Rosen's got a $3 super chat. He's one of my moderators, huge supporter of the channel. Thank you so much. He says, thank you all for being with us tonight. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
Great cash,
He's
homie.
extremely nice.
Super nice.
I know. Me and Summer were actually. She texted me a minute ago. She goes, "And sorry, Summer, I'm telling on you, but she's like, Chosen is just so nice." I said, "Oh my gosh, I know. He's just like really, really nice." And we said we wish we could be as nice as him, because
I
he'll come in my chat and he's just very welcoming, very nice. He's a good guy. He's a good one to have.
Let's see. Cindy has a question for us. Does Judge have all the evidence in this case, or does it come on the first day of the trial? As a trial will go, you will always enter evidence into a case. So you're going to get a certain amount of evidence up
Hmm.
front, and then as the trial goes on, they're still investigating. They're still investigating through this trial, and you may see other pieces of evidence come in to the trial. So
Oh yeah, I think for sure too. Because they said they're still getting like lab reports back, and
yeah,
maybe that's what the defense wants, and they think there's something there. but I don't know. I just
Isn't
think
it?
it's
I don't know how far you saw into. Let me just pull this up really quick, and
okay.
if I can share this with you if you have time.
Oh yeah, I have time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because what time did your live start? 8:30.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I came in about 8:45, 8:50 or something
Okay,
like that. I think.
I want to show you this really quick because I find this super super interesting. Let me see, and I'll pull it up here in a second. Okay, this is what I want to show you. Let me just bring this up here. Bring that up here. Let me show you this. What do you think about this? So here's the prosecution, right? They say all four victims died from apparent knife wounds. Law enforcement found a K-bar knife sheath on the bed next to the bodies of Madison and Kaylee. The sheath was face down and partially under both Madison's body and the comforter on the bed. But when the defense describes it, look what they say. The law enforcement later found a K-bar knife sheath placed next to Madison, basically Maddie, on her bed. The sheath was placed button side down, partially under Maddie and the comforter. They don't even mention Kaylee. Why?
I don't know why they don't mention Kaylee, but I think they're trying to separate Brian from that knife sheath or something. They're trying to move him away from that with that placed word. Like if someone placed it maybe like after he wasn't there. The defense is very good at what words they're putting in here.
Sure.
And I'm sure maybe maybe not Anne might not be like making these. It might be Jay Lawson or the other attorney, and then they're all reading over them before they're, getting sent out. They're strategic. I can't even say the word. But
Strategic.
yeah, but I noticed that when it said the knife sheath was placed.
Right.
And if you think about it, if it's button side down and the DNA is on the inside of that snap, that's going to be probably connected, maybe not all the way push close. And if
Right.
that part is underneath Maddie's body, which this is how I pictured it the whole time. I pictured it half under her and half out because of the way the PCA
Right.
read. He said he saw it from the door. And that's
Right.
just in my head how I saw it. So I think the button snap part was underneath of Maddie to where it was being protected. Because when she's, when she's laying there and she's not moving any longer, there's not going to be a struggle, no friction, no nothing's going to be moving on that knife sheath. And to me, I think she fell on it, and
Let me
that's where it laid.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think the fact that they kept Kaylee's name out of there, that there's a lot more connected between Bryan Kohberger and Kaylee, and they're trying to kind of dismiss that and hide it? Because we always thought that the target was Kaylee. I don't know
Hmm.
what you feel, who you feel it is, but we always felt like if it was a targeted attack, that Kaylee was the subject of that attack.
See, I've
Um,
always thought Maddie.
Maddie, okay.
In the
Interesting.
beginning, I kind of thought Kaylee because of the way her parents were coming out with the stalker thing. But then when I
Mhm.
started thinking about the stalker thing, when I was her age, I used to say all the time if somebody, emailed me more than one time, oh my God, I have a stalker, just like something you just say, like kind of not like, because this was a long time ago too. I'm 37 now, guys. So it was not like, you could say that back then. It wasn't like, it was just kind of like something in your speech you just said. So I think that with that part, with the stalker, I think, and they did say that the guy that was following her at the grocery store, he was just a weird guy. He was trying to impress her.
Right,
But for some reason, I feel like with Kaylee not supposed to being there, she wasn't supposed to be there that night.
right.
I feel like, Maddie was the target.
Sure. So Patrick Leary says, I'm so sick of hearing all the drug crap. Absolutely.
Oh my Lord, have
So sick of
mercy.
hearing Brett Kopaka's name. Leave that man alone.
Thank
Leave
you.
that gentleman alone. He didn't do anything in this. All he did was serve our country.
Yep.
He was messed up and had a lot of PTSD.
He had a
Okay.
mental health problem. He didn't
Exactly.
have a killing problem, It was a mental health problem. And
And
his
if
dad even went on Twitter and begged people to stop. It was heartbreaking to see someone family member do that.
in all these other conspiracies that there's someone else involved, there was someone driving it, don't you think we're almost a year? Don't you think that someone else would have been arrested by now?
Exactly. Exactly. They're not gonna. I mean, where's their DNA? I mean, it's crazy because this guy's supposed to be a criminal mastermind over here, Bryan Kohberger, but
Yeah.
and the whole like the Kim thing. She said that there was 5 people involved, and I'm like, are you kidding? There would be so much DNA left in that house. I mean, just some of the stuff was just,
I have
it's just been
text
crazy.
I can send you. I can show you offline
Yeah.
sometime. Victorine says, "Thanks for being here, Titanium
Oh,
Bill."
you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you
I
so
was
much.
just hanging out, so not a problem.
Thank you so
I was in the chat anyway. I was like, oh, I want to say some stuff in the chat because your
sure.
chat's so good.
They're great. We have great people over here.
They really are. And you said so you have 5 mods. Okay, I have 3. So that's yeah. So you have 5. Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know if I might need to put another one on. One of our girls is from Scotland, and she's been with me since forever, and I love her, and she's always there, like 4 in the morning. But sometimes she has to sleep.
Right.
And then we have Teresa, which is she's great. She comes on, but she can usually only stay on until about 9:30 or so. And then Summer's my ride or die, and I don't think she sleeps. Like 'cause it'll be like 1 in the morning. We're still texting on we're watching a live. I'm like, do we sleep or do we just watch Idaho 4 all the time? But I have to. There's only one channel that I haven't listened to, but she speculates on every case. She goes against the grain. I won't have to
Yeah.
say the name, but
Sure.
and she puts out bull crap after bull crap, and then the thing is it doesn't upset me as much that they put the bull crap out if they didn't get the views that they were getting on it. To where when you go to a smaller channel that does like factual, based information, where like me and you, we show
Yep.
documents, we
Yep.
show what we're doing, and she won't show any of that. So then all those people come to our chat. I don't know if this happens to you, but I'll get flooded, and
Of
it'll
course.
be like he's innocent because of this, and I mean, I
You
even
should see
had
the comments I get. It's
yeah,
funny.
I had someone come on my premiere the other day, and they said Bryan Kohberger's innocent, just like the making of a murderer. Well, I had heard another creator say those same exact words, and I said, "Who was in Making of a Murderer?" Because I
Right.
knew he didn't know what he was talking about, and he kept skipping the question. I'm like, "It was Stephen Avery, buddy." I'm like, "You don't even know." I said, "Read the documents, please." I said, "Please just read them." I ask people just to read them, just read them, and you'll see what we're saying when we say there's lack and thereof. Because if there was 0, they would have put there is 0% no DNA found in Bryan Kohberger's car.
Right.
They wouldn't have put lack thereof as a defense attorney. If there was 0, I think that they
Yeah.
would put 0.
It's a way to I guess use sexy wording to deflect and not. I'm not trying to like rack on anybody here, but like not the average, I guess, person kind of scanning through it's not going to pick that up unless you're really, really. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I did look that document over probably 10 times to like came to a conclusion. Said, all right, I see what they're doing here. It's
Yeah,
smoke and mirrors. It's Vegas show, showgirl or show guy stuff.
yeah,
That's the way to look at it.
it
Rack
is.
says exactly. There is nobody else. I can't watch other channels. So many conspiracy theories. They are pathetic and putting all these people's names out there. It's sad just to get likes and clicks. Well, we agree.
Yeah.
We
And
agree.
then just like them putting all that stuff about Dylan out there, that Justin character. I don't know if you
Sure.
ever heard,
Yeah.
and it was disgusting. And it's like this girl had her whole life ruined. I'm sure it's ruined.
Yeah.
And you're just coming out and just spewing stuff. And he actually made a video. It was like 2 or 3 days before we got the DNA hit, the direct hit, and he
Sure.
said the DNA on the knife sheath is not Brian's or Brian's dad's. And then the next day it came out court documents. It was a direct match, and I was like,
Yeah.
you can't make this stuff up. I saved the video because I'm
Patrick
just
says.
like, wow.
Patrick says this whole problem, people are not educated in crime investigations court. Listen, and I'm not claiming here I'm any expert either. Like I've followed true crime. I like true crime. I like watching court case interrogations. I'm not fully skilled in the law. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
But I try to take my time with my uneducated ass and read through this stuff and try to make some sense and logical sense and bring it out there and just give good material. And listen, everybody's not going to like what Titanium Bill and myself do. We get our share of shit too, but
Oh, well,
we
every day.
want to keep, factual because we care about the victims. We care about the families. We care about those communities because, and I've said this all along, our lives go on. Everybody in this chat, their lives go on. Okay. Those families are affected, those communities are affected for the rest of their life. They have to think about that every single day that they wake up, that their son or their daughter was murdered. And it's terrible. I think about my best friend every single day. His Polish.
Oh, I love it. I noticed that. Tells your age a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's me,
Oh,
and that's my friend right there, my best
that's
friend. I think
terrible to
about
hear
him
that.
every single day, and
Yeah,
time stops. Time stops when you have those moments.
it does. It really does, and that's what it's done for this family. All of these families, and then they get on YouTube. They see this stuff,
Yeah,
and it's like I couldn't imagine being one of them out there just watching this. Not our channels, but just watching other channels
sure.
and just wanting to be able to say something and they can't. And
Yeah,
I think that's why Miss Gonzalez, she did that interview with DTS. I think she went to Drunk Turkey because that was where the misconception, like a lot of the misinformation was coming from, was like I felt like him and this channel and the people that surround his channel, those creators.
hmm,
So I think she was going to, because at first I was like, why would she go to his channel? Because we've seen the speculation, over time and stuff. And they are conspiracy kind of a channel and speculation kind of a channel, but they were going into true crime.
sure.
And so I don't know. I think that's why maybe she went to them and was like, I'm going to go to the source instead of maybe like a factual channel because it won't get out as much because
Sure.
we don't get as many views when you talk about the facts, I feel like. But
Yeah,
if
it's
we
weird.
were to spin, yeah, I know. But if we were to spin it, like I spinned it in my premiere the other day just to see if I could just see what I could do for people. And the white sedan, they said they saw the 1112 King Road. And then they said later identified they as the white Elantra. Well,
Right.
instead of me saying I later identified, I just said it was Bryan Kohberger's car. And my whole chat was like, what? And I said, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I was like, I didn't think it would blow out like that. But, because people take their favorite creators as at their word. And sometimes we're wrong,
Of course.
and I
I
always
always
tell
think
people, if I'm
right.
wrong, I said, if I'm wrong, you come in this chat and let me know.
I mean, really, essentially, what we're doing is not right because you know why? We're not lawyers. We
Yeah.
weren't there. We're not lawyers. We're only giving opinions. We're only giving speculation. But we try. I think what both you and I do, we're on that same similar level to give, good factual information. Read through the documents. Try to interpretate it the best that we can, and give a presentation to the audience so we can lead them on the right track around here. And again, like I said. Bryan Kohberger is innocent until proven guilty. He's given that due process. He needs to go through that. But we all know how we stand. We all
Yeah.
know how we stand. So,
I mean,
oh,
there's in the totality, if you look at the totality of the evidence, it points to him. But and I said this all my life, if we all were to believe and go with he is guilty, like, go with the criminal justice system, the way it's going, we
right,
believe the officers, there's the Idaho State Police, Moscow Police, FBI was involved, and the state marshals. So, or the U.S. Marshals. So, if we were to believe, just believe them and go with Kohberger's guilty, and everyone says that, and everyone thinks that, then there's no more entertainment. There's no more clicks and views, because you have to put out there who framed Bryan Kohberger. What?
right,
Like the clickbait. Like someone came on my channel tonight, and my title was, "Do you think Bryan was the DoorDash driver?" Because I
sure,
personally don't think, and a lot of my chat don't think, but I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to see what evidence that I had that he wasn't, and then we played devil's advocate, and I went,
sure.
"Well, this is why it was." And someone came on my channel, and they were like, "This is clickbait," and I'm like, "What?" I said, "If it was clickbait, it would have said Bryan Kohberger is the DoorDash driver." I said I was asking a question, but it was kind of funny.
So Marlon's asking, does anyone else think Kim is paid for? I'm going to be honest with you. It has crossed my mind before in the past. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to really get too much into it, but you never know. You never
You
know.
never know, yeah. And there's a
Just
reason why people come forward at certain times, I feel like. And and then it's usually with certain creators. Like she'll start and then it spawns on more. I don't know when she was on your channel, but Was it a while ago?
It was a while ago. She popped on when I used to take live calls, and I actually want to go back to doing that again. But the reason I haven't been doing lately is because my presentations usually take like an hour to an hour and a half and go through. So I don't
Yeah.
like to do anything usually over 2 hours. People tend to tune out when they see that. They're like, "Oh, 2 hours
Yeah.
to walk through it." But I've been trying to keep my lives down to like an hour to an hour and a half. Um, but yeah, she was quite a long time ago. She jumped on for about 15 or 20 minutes. I kind of let her, I talked to her once offline. She did kind of the same skit, stick that she does online. Just kind of listened and just listened to her.
Uh-huh.
And uh, she came live and did like 20 minutes one time and just basically said all the same stuff. And I just kind of let her talk. I didn't
Yeah.
really engage it. I just wanted to get it out there. And um, I don't know. Anyway,
The only thing I believe about the Kim thing, this is my interpretation on Kim. I do think that maybe she's a WSU mom that has students in the area, and she probably has seen a lot of stuff going on in that area. Um, every small town has a drug problem, really, they do. But I think
right,
she's seeing that. She saw the Brent Kopaka thing, with that. She didn't really know what was going on. She just heard of this horrible thing going on. Then, Bryan Kohberger. And I think that's what snapped. And I think that she's wanting to clean up Moscow, maybe like
maybe.
of drugs or something. But it's like, but this has nothing to do with that. So it's like you're coming at it the wrong way. Like, if you want to clean up a small town, go out there and do something in the community. Don't get on YouTube and spew lies about a high profile case just,
Right.
just to get your name out there.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Because she's been in my chat, in the beginning, she was in my
Oh
chat a
yeah,
few
she's in
times.
there a lot too.
And
Yeah.
I think she kind of knew not to, because I was thinking I was pretty bold about how I felt about her. And I probably maybe shouldn't have, because then maybe she would have came up and I could have got a little more information out of her. But I was just like, nope. I kept shutting it down every time I would hear it. So I think she finally was like, I'm out.
Teresa, thanks for coming out. She said, just found your channel, Sweet and Spirit. Make sure to go down there, subscribe. I would appreciate it. Give this video a thumbs up. And also go over and check out Titanium Built. She's a great channel over there. It's actually our first kind of collab tonight. She jumped on real quick to
Yeah.
jump in the chat. So go check her out if you're not over there as well. She's got a great channel. She follows a lot of the Idaho content as well, and follows the Idaho case over there too. There's another chat I wanted to pull up. We're going to give it probably a couple more minutes here, and then we're going to wrap this one up because we're getting close to that 2 hour mark, and I don't
Yeah.
like to go too crazy over 2 hours. What was the one I wanted to pull up? Yeah, this is pretty interesting too. Giovanna says Kim changed her version in every channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I agree. But listen, I wanted to thank Tanya for coming over and hanging out this evening on
Yeah.
the channel. I definitely would love to come hang out on your channel, or if you want to come
Of
back over
course.
here, let's collab again. I agree. Everybody's saying they loved it. They said they
Oh,
subbed to
good.
both. Very good show. Great
Oh, good.
conversation.
Thank you. Thank you
We
so
appreciate it.
much.
And come check us out. When
Okay.
is your next live?
My next live will be tomorrow. I'm not sure. What time do you do your lives?
Mine
Like,
have been kind of erratic lately because I've been working so much. I probably won't stream in the next 2 days. I'll probably be back on like Wednesday. I start
okay.
mine usually 8:30, 9 o'clock. So
Okay, because I think I'm going to be doing mine a little bit earlier here in the
cool.
next couple of weeks just to get a little bit of a different see where my old people's been. You have your morning crew and then my night crew, and we went to nights, and I haven't seen my morning crew for a while. So I might do like an afternoon, because I know that there's one creator in particular, like he'll go live around like 12, and it's a channel that has an open panel every time, and it's a lot of
Right.
misinformation. So I may try to grab that time spot
You
to
know what
just
I'm
try
gonna
to get
tell
some
you?
facts out.
I'm gonna tell you, and I had this conversation with my mods, and I'm not afraid to talk about this online right now. Just keep doing you. The people will
Yeah.
come. You have a
Yeah,
great
exactly.
you have a
Thank
great
you.
channel. You're very close to 10,000 subscribers. I'm pulling for
Mhm.
you.
Thank
Just
you.
keep doing you. The people will come. Trust me. And
Yep.
one of my mods kind of reeled me back in the other night and said, just keep doing you, bro. You have a great channel. Just keep doing you.
Yeah. Because we could grow if we wanted to super fast and do some clickbait, but then people aren't going to respect us.
Yeah. So Diane is asking, will we have new documents tomorrow? Quite possibly. I know they're
Mm-hmm.
gearing up for another hearing on the 27th, so that'll be interesting to hear. It's going to be another motion to compel. That's the defense reaching out back to the prosecution to ask for evidence. I'll be very curious to see what comes out of that. That'll be on the 27th, and I'm sure we'll both be talking about it. So
Yeah.
again, I want to thank Tanya for jumping on this evening. Fantastic meeting you. Thank you
Yeah,
so
you
much for
too.
jumping on. Let's do something again soon. Let's keep in touch. And we appreciate everybody for hanging out this evening. Go check out Titanium Built. Let me grab your, hang on one second. Let me just grab your link so I can drop it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on. This was nice.
Yeah, anytime.
I'm
We can,
usually like, after I do my lives, I'm usually up for a while anyway. So,
yeah. Yeah, anytime. Come, we'll hang out. We'll do something again. We'll get a
yeah,
show
for
together.
sure.
Cool. Let me drop your link in the chat for everybody. If you haven't gone over, go over and check out Titanium Built's channel. Get her to 10,000 subscribers, guys. Ladies,
Yeah.
get her to 10,000
Mhm.
subscribers. She deserves it. She earns it. And she puts the work in. So
We're
we
at
appreciate
90, we're a little over 9,300 right now. So we're doing
that's
pretty good.
You're growing. You're
Thank
growing
you.
fast. We're going to go. I appreciate everybody this evening. Hope you liked the presentation. Again, Tanya, thanks so much for jumping on. We're going to hit the outro. Can you stick around for maybe 5 minutes after we close up shop?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. All
Yeah.
right. Here's the outro, guys. Thank you so much. Everybody's loving it. Wow, we're getting some gifts, memberships right now. Thank you so much for gifting
Oh,
those
thank
memberships.
you. That's so nice.
If you haven't gone over, you can check out all my members only content. I'm doing a video a week, trying to stay to that commitment for all my members to give them a preview of kind of what's going on behind the scenes. But again,
Awesome.
I'm Bryan. This is Let's Talk Live podcast. That is Titanium Built. Go check her channel out. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye, guys.